hard. It says it just says she's reactive to other dogs, so like there's no way she's coming here. What is making all that noise?
Computer.
What? Does it always do that?
I just turned it on. Yeah, I haven't turned it on and on. Hopefully, I heard the fucking password.
What are you using it for?
Usually, I haven't used it in weeks because the software that Rumble uses wasn't. The computer's so old that it's not up to date on everything, so some things don't work. Rumble didn't work, so now I'm wondering if now that we're on YouTube, if YouTube will work. So I'm gonna try it again because that allows Ben to see what the video looks like. Like right now, he can't see. Only I can see.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I sit out there and I'm like, like, you know, if your thing is, you know, if when you play it, if there's no, you know, like video to see, we'll like hear the voice or whatever. It's been good though lately. I mean, sometimes I'm out walking, so I don't actually see you. Did you like my memes? And my picture from rail line stairs? Oh, hope not. You still. This is a week later.
Hopefully there's a hint.
I would need all the hints, Hannon. All the hints from me. So, I'm gonna take them out. You're gonna do the show, and then I park. I'm gonna go see Lori Starr I'm gonna leave here at like 1:45. I'm gonna go over there and see her, and then depending on how long that is, I might just go straight to walk Charlie. The coconut's gonna get picked up probably like 5 or 6 o'clock. Do you have anything else but this?
You're probably mow the lawn. Just other than that, I didn't.
Okay. Oh, wait, I forgot. And then once I walk Charlie, that fucking dog's coming over. Forgot. Meet and greet, 4:30ish.
How we doing? Look at this chair.
That was the best here for.
I almost didn't know what to do with myself. All right, let's see here. Ooh. Oh, that's nice.
Feel free to adjust it.
I'm gonna have to lower it a little bit, or else I'm gonna get stuck. There, I can fit my arm in there now. Oh yeah, that's the spot right there. We're good. I nailed it on the first try. Sorry, do I look like tiny compared to you now?
No, but I'm always bigger because I'm closer here because
Yeah.
I can't move this stuff any farther back. So I'm always trying to play that game or figure out where to be so that it doesn't look like we're in two different time zones.
Fair enough. I could probably come up like an inch, but I don't know.
That's up to you. I mean, you're
I don't know
comfortable
how to
right
rub
up
here.
Yeah. Welcome to Sports, Clicks, and Politics with your hosts, Ben Hussong and me, Shawn Hannon. Welcome to episode 111 of Sports, Clicks, and Politics. Is that good luck? 111?
I think it has to be.
Something like make a wish on 11/11. We wish that you all will join us every day and wish us every Monday anyway, that is. And thank you for joining us this Monday. I am Shawn Hannon, joined as always by Ben Hussong as our wonderful co-hosts taking a look at the world of craziness again this week.
Always.
How was your weekend?
Crazy,
Well, that's not shocking. Should we just move forward?
but a lot of fun.
Oh, good.
I rented a dingo.
All right, go ahead.
Great thing.
Is that a boat?
No, a dingo is like a mini skid steer, but we needed it to lift logs in place so I could
Gotcha.
build my 4-season fire pit.
Just not for the chicken coop?
I mean, we moved the chicken coop into place, but it's not. I haven't built the walls around that yet, so that's still coming. But I did a lot of work with my neighbors on Saturday, and then Sunday got up, went and helped clean an ice cream machine, and then had to fix it. Then went and coached baseball, then went home and continued to lift logs into place and continue constructing our log cabin style walls around them.
I mean,
And then
on a
cooked
similar
jambalaya
note-
for dinner.
on
I'm
a
like
similar
a
note,
Renaissance man over
I
here.
mean, like I said, similar note, I carried bales of hay up to the rooftop of my little place of establishment. That was torturous.
I believe you.
Not that torturous, actually.
It's still a lot of work. They
I mean,
were heavy.
just a lot of walking
Yeah.
up and down the stairs. The bales of hay weren't actually that heavy.
You got your steps in?
For sure. I didn't check those steps that day, but I'm sure they're up there. For me, who's normally, if I get over my limit of 500, then,
I've never counted my steps in a day in my life.
Well,
so
my
I have no
phone
idea.
pretends to count them, so I don't know if sure that happens or in reality or not. But before we move into some of the crazy news of the week, I think we're broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube and Rumble right now.
Whoa.
I don't know if it's all working.
Give it a week.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not we're going to legally be allowed to be broadcasting on all those channels going forward. But right now, we currently, I think, are.
Awesome.
So, yeah. And wherever you're watching us or listening to us, hopefully you will support the show and give us a like, share the video, share the episode wherever you can. Spread the word about the little SCAPP show here, the little show that could.
The little show that could?
I don't know where I was going with that.
I'm not sure either. I felt like I was going to let you ramble a little bit there, and I didn't see it going to the little show that could.
I got nothing.
All right.
Let's talk about your Bills.
Let's go Bills.
Down 17. Biggest comeback in Josh Allen's career.
That was a good win.
I'm a Steelers fan, so I'm never rooting for the Ravens. I know we have Ravens fans that are listening here, but
Sure.
tell us about the would you get to watch the game in between log lifting?
Not a lot of it, but I did
Okay.
watch some of it. I listened to some of it on the radio, but there was work to be done. So I didn't get to sit down and, like, drink a bunch of beer and eat snacks like I would normally like to do. But I got to tell you, the end of the game, they learned the lesson on clock management from their failure in Miami. So that was actually really good to see. They didn't make the same mistakes again. They ran the ball, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant that they ran the ball to get the first down and not get in the end zone so that they could leave 0 time on the clock for Lamar Jackson to do anything. That was a great strategy, great call by the Bills.
Did they purposely go down at the one, like Brian Westbrook?
Yeah, it's
Do
Josh
you remember
Allen.
Do you remember Brian Westbrook? This is years ago, but
I do.
fantasy implications abound. He's breaking away late in the game for a breakaway long touchdown run, and he just downs himself at the 3 like a smart football player. And all the fantasy people who had Brian Westbrook on his team were like, "What the hell?
What are you doing?" No, it was a great idea. I thought when they ran Singletary up the middle, I think it was on first and 3 or something like that. Like it wasn't. They didn't have the first down yet, so they ran him in, and I thought the defender was going to fling him into the end zone so that they could just get it over with and give Lamar Jackson the ball. But they didn't. They tackled him at the 4. Then they got a first down with Josh Allen on a QB sneak, and they didn't throw the ball. That was the brilliant strategy. Finally, they just ran it. And once they got the first down, Baltimore couldn't stop the clock. They had burned all their timeouts, and that was it.
Yeah, like I said, I never shed a tear when the Ravens lose. So congratulations to the Bills. Good bounce back victory over the Miami.
Over a good team.
Yeah, and so let's jump into this Tua thing a little bit since I don't think we've talked about it at all, have we?
No, I don't think so either.
So obviously we all remember what was it, Bills Dolphins game.
Yep.
Tua falls back on his head, gets up a little groggy. Goes into just before halftime, I think it was. Goes into the locker room kind of early. They do the test. He comes back out. Boom, he's ready to play. Second half, there we go. Dolphins, they beat the Bills, right? People wondered, hey, what happened to that concussion protocol stuff at halftime there? Seems pretty, whatever. And it turns out that he passed the concussion protocol test that he was given there, but the one where I would think the independent doctor on staff there is supposed to parse through the stability issues that he clearly displayed while getting up after being knocked down, hitting his head there, and was allowed to, this is Tua and the Dolphins, were allowed to blame that instability on his back, right? So I don't think anybody thought it was his back. I mean, he was staggering, as in not like he had a back pull, like he didn't have balance, right? So his own teammates were carrying him off, kind of holding him up a little bit and whatever. Fast forward to a short week, nonetheless, for Tua, playing on Thursday, and he gets thrown around like a sack of potatoes so hard that his face, his head slammed into the thing again. He's down, hands above his eyes, he's out, right? So I'm assuming I think there already was an investigation. Even I think the Bills actually, it kind of publicly made it like, hey, what the hell happened here during this thing? We didn't really see what happened. But now all hell is broken loose. I don't say all hell is broken loose, but the Dolphins are under a lot of pressure now for the way they handled this. I'm assuming this independent doctor who was supposed to be there monitoring his stability is also under fire. I don't know. What were your nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt, and this is exactly, I feel like, the reason why the NFL tried to implement all these rules for these exact situations. This one's even exacerbated more by having the short week, but he basically got 2 massive head traumas within 4 or 5 days of each other, both resulting in concussion, and we kind of know now through the history of all these that they kind of compound on top of each other, and the more you get them, the more you get them, and the more you get them, and the more serious they are. So give me your Tua takes.
First off, the idea that I've never seen a back injury where it caused somebody's knees to wobble a full 10 seconds after the hit.
You're just not old enough yet.
I've never seen it. Like, that's new. I've never seen somebody hurt their back or tweak their back, get up and jog perfectly fine, and then have their knees buckle and have them, like, start to fall. I've never witnessed that. I've watched a lot of football, watched a lot of other sports. It would be the first time I've ever seen that happen. I've seen it happen with concussions plenty of times. Never seen the back injury cause that. Maybe he just pinched the nerve just right. So, color me skeptical that the man was not concussed on that Sunday. I believe he was. All right, that aside. Thursday night, I remember the sequence because I'm watching him in the middle of the field, and I'm watching him, and I'm thinking, there's no way you could take this sack. Like, there was no excuse. You had to get away from that. Nobody was within 5 yards of you. You were in the middle of the field. You could have ran, thrown it away. Like, you shouldn't have taken the sack to begin with. He did. And he got sacked violently. And I saw it described as the most inappropriate description I saw on Facebook was, they got this man throwing up gang signs. I mean, his arms came up, his pointer fingers were pointed so far in and locked. Again, I don't think it was a back injury.
It still lists as back. When you go to the NFL injury report,
Stop.
like, the officially still has back head. Like, the back has anything to do with it.
Yeah, they're not letting go of that at this point. So it looks really bad to have successive concussions within 5 days of each other, and not minor ones. They both looked like, if you, in your daily life, if you were ever walking and suddenly your knees just gave out and, like, you fell down and, like, had a mini blackout, you'd be like, oh, something's really wrong. That is not how I'm supposed to be functioning. We better get that checked out. Then you go and play another football game, get dropped on your head, and get locked up. Like, it's a bad look.
Yeah.
I'm very skeptical that there's any explanation other than he was concussed, we missed it, and he got concussed again.
Well, the worst thing is not that they missed it, is that they covered it up, right? So that's if in fact it turns out that they did whatever they could to get around the rules that were in place here. You know, who knows? Like, I think I made some jokes to some other people about this independent doctor. You know, what if this independent doctor is, I don't know, friends with somebody on the staff, or Bill is a huge Dolphins fan,
yeah.
right? I mean, it's like there's going to be some, even though there's not supposed to be, and that's why they're supposed to be independent. There's going to be a little bit of conflict of interest overlap between this position and the team. Like, I don't want to say for nefarious reasons, but there just is. There's going to be a relationship there, I feel like. So, I don't know. I haven't looked to see if this guy's still on the sidelines, and if they are, if he was been punished or penalized in any way or not. I'm assuming he's being questioned.
I doubt it was a cover-up. I guess that's where I'm at. It's possible that he cleared the concussion protocol because the concussion protocol is a joke, and they say, like, what day of the week is it? What city are you in? And you could probably clear that with a concussion in some instances. Not every time, but in some you could. And so Tua being Tua lied. I do think there needs to be some oversight, whether it's the team, maybe the league, I don't know. That's something that clear of, all right, look, if you show physical symptoms to that extent, we have to have some type of an escalated.
They have a rule in place for that now, and it just was either overlooked or disregarded because that's what the independent doctor. My understanding is that there is first and foremost, a stability observational assessment, right? They're like, hey, this guy was staggering. Was it because of a head injury or was it because he twisted his ankle, right? So that independent doctor is supposed to make that assessment on the fly in real time. I understand it could be difficult, and he's going to get countermeasures from everybody, including Tua, who wants to play. All the coaches want him to play. Everybody wants him to play, right? So this independent doctor has to be able to kind of work his way through that maze to figure out whether or not what's the best safety for this guy. Clearly, in hindsight, a terrible decision was made, it seems like, and we got to see on full display on Thursday what the ramifications of that are. Now, who knows? The Dolphins could, as a team, basically create a plausible deniability because they have this independent, doctor there, but people are talking about, like, penalizing the Dolphins in a way of, like, stripping them of all draft picks, firing the staff. Like, I don't know if any of these things are going to happen, but, like, at minimum, I feel like this independent doctor no longer is an independent doctor with the NFL. I feel like that almost has to happen. I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. I don't know any kind of the inner details. But if your one job is to assess and maintain some kind of independence from the team, this seemed like the obvious place to do it, and this person did not do it.
Sure. I agree with that, and maybe it's all there. I'm just saying, I'm not a doctor, and I don't pretend to be. It looks bad. I mean, I don't know how you as a doctor, you're going to have to work hard to persuade me that the guy didn't have a concussion on Monday. Like, I can't give you the benefit of the doubt just because you're a doctor in this case. Like, that was just, I've seen concussions before.
It seemed too obvious.
And they look a lot like that. And the guy hit his head, and then you're getting up. And the idea that you fell for the idea of, well, it was just my back. My back locked up, and that's what made my knees give out. Like,
yeah, listen, if
I remember the song, the hip bone's connected to the
if the Thursday event doesn't happen and Tua goes unscathed, this probably is never really a story.
Under the radar. Yep.
So, but now that it has and it played out in the worst possible scenario,
well, it allows the NFL to give him a slap on the wrist for, like, hey, you should have done a more thorough examination. But one on your prime time
well, what they should do is more than a slap on. If they want to actually protect these players' safety and they think their rules are going to do so, then they should penalize whoever was in charge here enough so that the next person doesn't even think about doing it.
I mean, here's the reality. You have to penalize a player. Like, I'm sorry to tell you this, but at some point, if the players are the ones making these choices and saying, I'm going to go in a game because I'm a Warrior and we're in a playoff on and not, et cetera, like, great. But if you really want to protect a player from yourself, you have to disincentivize them from doing that. Because if they lie and cover up the head trauma, then they face a 3-game suspension, then they're not going to do it.
Sure. That being said, they might not be in the right frame of mind to make that decision coherently, right? So they might need somebody else.
Oh, they do need somebody else, but there has to be consequences for the players too. Otherwise, they're going to continue to lie and give bad information.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
To the doctors.
If they're gonna get rid of this doctor, which I think they should do. I don't know if that's even being discussed, but that's my thing. They should be, and maybe the team should be penalized in some way because I can't imagine that they were forthright with the information.
Hey,
wait. But I think you're right. The player should also be penalized.
There has to be
so some suspension so that everybody holds some skin in the game. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Are you daring to impugn the reputation and ethical standards of the Miami Dolphins as a professional football organization? I mean, you talk about a team just beyond reproach. Not like they just got caught tampering and with 14 other league rule violations in this offseason alone, and the NFL punished them with like a $10,000 fine to where every other league owner was like, oh, that's it?
Yeah, well, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, I guess.
I guess not. So here's my point. I am a believer in incentives. If you incentivize away from something, you'll get less of it. If you incentivize more of something, you'll get more of it. So if I really want to win and I'm worried about the playoffs and I want to play through a concussion, but I know I'll be facing, if I have one and I gave the doctors bad information, it's at least going to make me pause. It's at least going to slow me down. And if you make the Dolphins for this have to give up a draft pick that actually matters, hey, they'll probably be a little bit more careful about letting guys go back in than they were this time. And if this doctor is fired and he loses this sweet gig with the Miami Dolphins or with the NFL as an independent medical professional, then that'll disincentivize others. If they just cover it all up and go the other way, you'll get more of this. And I don't know where to land on that because football is an inherently dangerous game. Nobody who's playing it is unaware of that fact. And at some point, you have to be responsible for your choice. There are players who walked away because they realized, it's just not worth it for me. Like, it was great. I'm glad I made it, but I'm not doing this to myself.
Yeah.
If you're going to stay in the league because you're going to make all kinds of money, great. You got to protect yourself at some point. And I get that's not the attitude all the old school football warriors want to hear, but we also don't want to see these guys laid up at 55, unable to move and ready to blow their brains out. Like, It's got to be some type of medium that you got to strike.
We don't want any more Antonio Browns in the world.
Oh, God.
Let's not go there.
Yeah, we don't. But the idea being the same, though, of if you want to get it out of the game, I don't think you should want to get rid of it because you're afraid of a lawsuit. I think that you should want to do it genuinely to make the game better and safer for these players.
Right. And listen, I mean, who knows if Tua is ever going to be good, but like these are the kind of things that end careers shortly, and you never know if he's going to be. So I don't know. Like I said, I feel bad for the kid. Like nobody ever wants these guys getting hurt, and these brain injuries were pretty much undiagnosed for decades.
Yeah,
so,
but now we know.
And now we know, and they should have known better during this situation. And all they had to do was sit him out 1 week, and it might have been a totally different situation.
They lost anyway.
Sure, regardless of outcome, win or lose, if he's your franchise quarterback, you're talking about 10 years plus of games. Like missing one is not going to be the end all be all of his career. Any other NFL tidbits that you want to talk about? You see the Chiefs kind of beat up on the Bucs a little bit last night there.
I'm not sure Patrick Mahomes is a human being. I'm not sure.
Remember his dad?
No.
I told you he pitched for the Yankees.
I know. I know who he was, but no, I don't really. Like, I didn't grow up watching him.
I watched him. I'm old. So
I'm not that old. I'm not even 40 yet.
I'm looking at these other scores here. Nothing else really sticks out to me. Steelers lost to the Jets. Zach Wilson's return.
Buddy. Yeah, I mean that's terrible. But the Lions Seahawks game, I didn't watch a minute of it, but I wish I did. That had to be like the most exciting football game. I had
a lot of fantasy implications on that game. Yeah.
Holy goodness.
Yeah. I had Rashad Penny, Josh Reynolds.
Nobody was playing defense.
Yeah. Well, that game, as a degenerate, that game actually had a lot of sneaky fantasy potential. It was because the Lions also were missing DeAndre Swift. They were missing
DeAndre Swift.
Right. St. Brown. They were missing their best receiver too. So all their backups, who were very low-priced guys because they were all superstars yesterday. So yeah, that was a fun game. Did you know that was the nerd? Did you know that was the very first time in NFL history that a game ended 48-45?
I did not.
Yeah, first time ever.
I mean, they almost put up 100. Like that's for these two teams that are not good. That's incredible. If you think about if you lived was the game in Detroit or in Seattle?
I feel like it was in Seattle, but I don't really know.
Like if you're a Seattle Seahawk fan, this is not the game where you're like, oh, this is a must attend. I can't wait to see them play the Lions. This is one of those you're like, yeah, it'll be good to go watch them. And then you get there and you get treated to that game.
Not only did they have that many, the Seahawks didn't punt once. That's nice. Fun.
Great. That's how you put up 48 on a team.
Yeah. All right. So what do we got? What's the game tonight? Forgot.
San Francisco, LA.
Oh, that should be a good game. That's right. Yeah, that should be a good game. So Jimmy Garoppolo back in the league, or not back in the league, but back in the starting.
Back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle is right. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's switch gears. I guess this is maybe still sports, but I brought this up to your attention this morning, and you seemed interested. I don't really play poker anymore, like I did back when the poker stars and whatever that was going on online. So, after you get to like $1 bajillion, it becomes fun because unfun, so it doesn't matter anymore. But let me read this headline. People believe they found a moment professional poker player allegedly cheated in high-stakes match. And when they say they found the moment, Mr. Hussong,
sure, they
notice her fidgetiness in a seat and her seemingly uncomfortableness during this. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole poker aspect of this thing, but apparently she won a hand, $130,000 with Jack high. She had Jack 4 in her, hidden, and her last opponent had 7-8 of clubs. There was a 9 of 10 of clubs. There was a bunch of things out there that
a good poker player would not have gone down this road,
to say the least. The guy who lost, I watched the video this morning again. The guy who lost literally stared without saying a word, bewildered beyond belief for probably a good 10 minutes. Just not – all the other players at the table were having a conversation with her going, what are you thinking? And this dude was just like staring at her being like, what just happened? And so the idea is, Mr. Hussong, this is where it gets salacious. Poker fans believe they may have spotted the moment a professional player allegedly used a vibrating ring to cheat in a high-stakes table match. You can watch it here. So there's this idea that she has a hidden device on her body that somebody is controlling remotely and alerting her to whether or not she had the best hand or not. And so this idea that she knew that she was going to win with crap cards may have been tipped off by some internal vibrating ring thing. I don't even know.
Where'd she hide it?
This is weird. We're not going to go into that, Mr. Hussong. So that's why we're leaving that to the audience to discover.
You're such a prude.
I leave the link. You guys can go research that yourselves.
All
but
right.
I don't know. I thought this only happened a couple days ago, so people are making a big deal. It was on TV, right? So like everybody was watching it. This is kind of a thing. I don't watch poker on TV, so
nor do I.
This woman, professional player, poker player, people can see on the screen, she's wearing a very low-cut shirt during this whole thing. It's probably as a distraction to the other dudes that were at the table, I'm guessing. I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
I think it's bizarre. All right, so quick rundown. Poker is essentially all percentages. When you're playing with people who know what they're doing, I am now one of those people, and I have never, ever been able to not chase a flush in my entire career playing poker, and career's putting it mildly. I just play a fair amount. I just play 2 or 3 times a week with a bunch of guys. And it was like my downfall. It's like I was so drawn to trying to get a flush that I would get them all the time, and then people would get mad. Like, how the hell do you keep playing? I'm like, because I chase every one of these flushes all the way through. So, yeah, I'm going to get more. So I was never very good at poker. People who are good at poker know the odds of if you have a jack up, if I have a 7-8 showing, the odds are 48% that I have this. Your odds of winning this hand, of having the high hand with the jack 4 with the cards that are down, is roughly 1.3%. So the only way you would go for that is if you know, because you know as a professional player, this isn't like, I'm just feeling it and we're going to go. Like, you don't get to be a professional poker player by doing that. So the odds are she had to have known she had the best hand. Otherwise, there's no way she would have gone. And the guy who she's going against is going to push all in because even though he knows he has nothing, he knows the odds are that he has something. So if you're going to go, you're going to go. And he went in and then he got called. And then you find out you got called on jack high. Yeah, I mean, something's afoot. Something's afoot. So
I mean, she returned the money, which is kind of like a weird, like, tip of the, that, okay, maybe I didn't do this. I'll just undo the money. And then all you can say is I cheated. But this, and like I said, I don't know anything about the poker world and the thing, but apparently this person is her name is Robbie Jade Liu, newcomer to the sport. So this happened on Thursday. The person who she was in this game with was Garrett Adelston, who
love
said,
that dude.
Yeah, I don't know. But apparently, according to Robbie Jade Liu, Adelston, whatever his name is, confronted her like in the hallway of the hotel or something and said, you cheated and whatever, and so she gave him the money back. So, I don't know. Weird story. I figured we would just drop it on people's laps and they could do what they want with it.
Run with that.
Yeah.
Gun to my head, she cheated.
Yeah. So the only plausible reason why I feel like she may not have cheated is other players in history have been playing with her, says she makes unusual, bizarre moves all the time. So maybe it's just one of those. Her excuse was she thought she had jack 3, which meant she thought she had a pair of 3s, but really she had jack 4.
Oh, that changes everything.
Right. So anyway, she there was a bizarre commentary going back and forth after the hand was over, and it was all weird. So you guys can go look at that anyway. So. All right, another one of our favorite topics that I'd like to kind of update on here. Alec Baldwin likely to face charges in shooting death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Weird.
As he should.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a little while, saying that we think he should face charges. I don't know that, first-degree murder is actually the charge. I know some people think that there was he didn't like her. He was going to figure out a way to take her out and, use this as an excuse, but I feel like it's more likely. From the beginning, I feel like it's most likely that she kept asking to reshoot the shot, the scene, whatever, and after a while, in a kind of a, frustrated tizzy, Alec Baldwin points the gun at her and pulls the trigger, and boom, she's not anymore. So, I hope that there's charges, only because I feel like it's probably the best thing for the family of this killed woman here. So I don't know. I don't know if charges are going to come. It seems as though they're going to come, and I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be as him as a direct participant or as a producer of the movie, creating some unsafe environment. But either way, our own local boy Alec Baldwin.
I mean, either way, this is what we talked about at the time. It's either his fault for being negligent and aiming a gun at somebody and pulling the trigger, which is the opposite of responsible gun safety for those of you who don't shoot much. It's basically like the one thing you're never, ever, ever supposed to do is that. That's rule numbers 1, 2, and 3. Apparently, if I recall correctly, there were all kinds of concerns about the armory in this movie. Like there was the live ammo was getting mixed with the blanks. The hot guns were getting mixed with the cold. They were getting swapped in and out. There was no system of order. So then you just say, okay, Well, who's in charge? Because whoever's in charge obviously had some dereliction of duty of the standard of care, and then you find out it was him. He was in charge. He was the executive producer. So he's in charge. So in one of those two roles, or in both, I do believe he has at least some culpability in the death of this woman. I don't think murder 1 or even murder 2 is necessarily the proper charge, but there should be something. Like, there has to be some consequence. You cannot do this. There's a reason we have these rules. And all these people online that are like, that's not a rule. I've been around guns forever. No, you haven't. Because that is literally the first thing you would ever be taught by anybody who's ever been around guns, is treat every gun like it's loaded, and you never, ever, ever aim a gun at somebody without the intention of shooting them.
Right, and this all comes to light because the Santa Fe District Attorney, Mary Carmack Altwies.
Sure.
So the Santa Fe District Attorney asked for $635,000 to prosecute and said that murder charges were on the table along with other weapons-related offenses. So this is basically stemming from the district attorney asking for a bunch of money to prosecute this case, thinking that the lawyers on the other side are probably going to be high-powered whatevers,
and they will.
And they will. And this is seemingly like a precursor to to charges being filed. So we will surely keep our eyes on our own Alec Baldwin here to see what happens on this, because I don't know if
I'm
this
not
is
asking for the guy to get the death penalty. Like, I get it was an accident, but there is a standard of care. If I go out and randomly shoot in the air and it ends up hitting somebody, I can say all I want. I didn't mean for this to happen, but I have a certain duty of responsibility to not do that.
Yeah. Right. So we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated as this unfolds, if in fact it does unfold. I found this story this morning, Mr. Hussong. Tell me if you find this weird.
Oh, boy.
This is the headline from the New York Post. New York City migrants pile into vans they say are headed to Florida for Hurricane Ian cleanup. Scores of Venezuelan migrants in New York City are hopping on vans to head down to Florida for Hurricane Ian cleanup, they told the Post. They don't know who they're working for. They were told they're going to get $15 an hour, $15 for daily food and drink stipend, and even the migrants there asked the Post themselves, they don't know, do you know who we're working for, who we're going to? So, I don't know. Do you think this is New York City using migrants as a political pawn, let's just say?
Come on.
Seriously.
Oh, these poor people.
I mean, what are you going to,
there is no moral high ground. Good Lord. This is wild.
Yeah, like I said, it's only one article. I kind of came across it late here, but I feel like since we covered the other idea that these migrants are being shipped all over from the border to non-border places like Martha's Vineyard in New York City and Chicago and other places, that this is or at least the New York City's version of retaliation. It seems as though there's no real direction from these migrants that they know about, and obviously they're migrants, so they might not be fully able to comprehend what's being told to them at this point, since they're kind of being pushed all over the country. I find it weird that scores and scores of Venezuelan migrants are heading back to Florida for cleanup. I'm sure they'll be right back to New York City after the cleanup is over. Right?
How are they going to get there?
More vans?
I guess so. My God.
It's just a mess.
Where's the outrage? Where is the outrage from all these people that were saying this is human trafficking? Human trafficking. I was told reliably that this met every definition of human trafficking. Why is it not now?
You know the reason.
My favorite part is when they said that he made false statements, Ron DeSantis did, because he literally printed the website from the state of Massachusetts and put it into a pamphlet, and they're like, those are lies. Okay.
Yeah. Well, definitions don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
They're just...
Listen, I feel terrible for these people still, because now they're going to get shipped back down to Florida. I hope somebody's really paying them to do this. My God, I hope somebody's actually going to pay them to do this, and they're not just.
Well, I'm guessing at some point now that the story is
public,
aware. Yeah, that's in the public spotlight. That somebody's going to be waiting for these vans and see where they unload them, right? See what happens, because somebody's got to receive these people to get their money. If they're just getting dropped off at Publix parking lot, then not going to be getting $15 for food or cleanup. So I don't know. We'll see what happens next week and bring a moratorium.
Good Lord.
I don't think this will be the last of this little story because
I doubt it.
I don't really have any Hurricane Ian hot takes. You?
I mean, listen.
I feel bad for everybody.
I feel terrible for everybody, and I get that the evacuation orders came in later because the hurricane took a different path than what it was originally intended. For me personally, I was happy about that because I have family in Tampa, so I was very happy that the hurricane stayed south of Tampa and didn't hit there. Otherwise, that would have affected me much more on a personal level. But I still feel bad for the people that it did. You're already seeing the claims about it's the most expensive hurricane ever, and
inflation. Inflation doesn't matter. It's all part of this.
We got to stop playing this.
It's all
game,
dumb.
People.
It's all dumb.
And my personal favorite take is it'll help the economy because now there's going to be people rebuilding.
Who? Paul Krugman?
People are morons. God help you. Paul Krugman might be the dumbest smart person I've ever seen in my entire life. Sorry.
I don't know. A lot of people challenge that.
That's fair.
It might have been true in 2019, but there's a whole lot of smart people who I think are dumb.
All right, let's go over the duration of time that this man has been doing the stupidity that he is spewing. To go back to when he said, in the grand scheme of things, the effect on business of the internet will be roughly the same as the fax machine.
Yeah.
Good take, Paul. Man.
There's a whole series called Contra Krugman. It's a podcast series that basically just breaks down Paul Krugman's assertions and letters. But every time he posts something, they basically just break it down and tell you how dumb he is.
He literally just said, last week, I don't see any issues coming out of Bank of England with the pension funds. There's no problems. And then all of a sudden, way to be. Literally 24 hours later, this man has an uncanny ability to get things wrong at the exact
Maybe him and Kramer hang out.
Jim Cramer. God bless Jim Cramer. How that guy even has a job is amazing. Who was the one who looked at him and was like, we need to do with this guy? Put him on television. Get it. What do you want to talk about? Doesn't matter. Just got that.
Just let him hit
personality.
Buttons. He's just got a soundboard. People just thought it was cool. So, all right, whatever. Hopefully these migrant situation works out, and hopefully all the people in Florida are moving forward as quick as possible, I guess, under the circumstances.
Agreed.
All right. Let's talk about another one of our hot topics, if you will. Abolish the FBI. This is the Matt Gaetz version. So you guys may be aware that Matt Gaetz, Congressman Matt Gaetz from Florida, was under a criminal investigation for sex trafficking, as you brought out there.
I was just going to say, wasn't he being investigated for pedophilia or trafficking young girls or something?
Well, it turns out that the FBI has no case at all, but just basically was leaking that information to kind of, they have no case.
No.
The main person, source, I guess, Joel Greenberg, I think his name is, who is a former friend of Matt Gaetz, has basically been shown to be, lying and basically covering his own ass to try to make sure that he didn't go to jail. So their main source is basically and just shit. So and the girl who supposedly was now working with this Joel Greenbloom guy was lying, and so basically the whole case is falling apart. Even somebody in the New York Times wrote a thing basically saying this is. Let me get the quote. The investigation of Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, which looks like it's about to fall apart, is an FBI disgrace for the ages. This is in the New York Times.
Wow.
So just another piece of the puzzle of the FBI as a rogue institution needs to be abolished and reined in and reconfigured and reimagined in some other way, because right now that, and I feel like in combination with the DOJ, is broken beyond repair. So I think that needs to be our own self detonation here and figure that out and rebuild. All
right, I'm gonna link together several stories that we've talked about now.
Yeah,
with
go
a
ahead.
Common theme.
The FBI sucks, but go ahead.
Don't try to sell me that you got conveniently stupid. Don't try to tell me that you conveniently got stupid. All right, going back to the poker player. Don't tell me you conveniently just didn't realize the odds on this one play that was a 1 in a million chance, and you just happened to work it out because you got conveniently stupid. The doctor with Tua. Don't tell me you got conveniently stupid and didn't recognize that the guy's knees buckled after his head bounced off AstroTurf, and you believe that it was a back injury. Don't tell me that you got conveniently stupid. The FBI is full of people that are highly educated, a lot of experience, some of the most qualified law enforcement professionals in the entire world. And you guys fell hook, line, and sinker for a con man with another woman. Don't get conveniently stupid.
Well, I feel like it's more even not they got conned, is that they had this guy.
That's what I mean.
They got this guy. They had
There's
this guy.
no way they got conned. There's no way.
Yeah,
they
right.
genuinely
They had
believed
this guy for something else, and they just coerced him into playing along to get Gaetz. So like,
right.
It was just their own plot to take out Gaetz. It was their own thing again. Like it's the FBI foils FBI terror plot all over again every day.
What is more likely in all these scenarios? That this poker player had some type of a device to let her know that she had the highest hand, or that she conveniently looked at her cards wrong and thought she had Jack 3, which is also a crap hand under the circumstances, and made this ridiculous bet and then won the money. What's more likely? What's more likely? That this doctor was not at all concerned that Tua had a concussion and just was like, oh, it's just his back and that makes total sense, or that he screwed up massively and fell in. What is more likely here? That the FBI genuinely believed this guy who came forward. Like if I went to the FBI tomorrow and was like, hey, Chuck Schumer sells kids, they're not going to run with that. They're going to first off, okay, what's your proof? I got this girl that I know. All right, good. Well, now we have corroborating evidence. So let's leak this to the press. No, of course not. They're going to look into my background. They're going to look into her background. They're going to be like, all right, without any hard evidence, we really need to make sure that we're going somewhere with this. It's what any competent law enforcement professional would do. So the idea that they just threw caution to the wind and started leaking it as if it was a fact, and knowing the whole time, like that seems more likely that they acted in good faith to you and just got it wrong. Based on what? My God, it's like, it's the cheating spouse that swears this will be the last time. And you're like, you know what? I know you said that the last 15, but I really believe you this time.
Yeah, and so this New York Times article was written by Brett Stevens, who's not a Gaetz fan, and he says as much as here. And I'm going to read kind of a recap of what I just said. So last year, federal investigators seemed to ramp up the former Seminole County tax collector, Joel Greenberg, who is the former close friend of Gaetz, pleaded guilty to 6 federal crimes, including a sex trafficking charge. Greenberg agreed to cooperate with numerous investigations, including the one into Gaetz. However, the probe has slowed in recent months. And so this is from Brett Stevens, the journalist here. So what we seem to have here is a high-profile politician being convicted in the court of public opinion for some of the most heinous behavior imaginable, traffic a minor for sex, until the Justice Department realized 2 years later that its case has fallen apart. We have a presumption of innocence in this country because we tend to err the most when we assume the worst about the people we like the least. So this is basically this guy saying, hey, I don't like this guy, but when you try to railroad people just because you don't like them,
the results generally aren't great.
You got it. So again, I'm just going to reiterate, abolish the FBI. I don't see I don't see a way for it to come back unless there's just a mass exodus / whistleblower internally that can basically out all the spooks, if you will. So I don't know, just terrible. FBI is terrible. I don't even know what to say. They're doing everything they can to make sure that the CDC is the second worst alphabet organization in the government.
Where does CIA rank?
Yeah, terrible.
Okay, just curious.
They might be on their own scale, to be honest with you.
Fair.
Let's switch a little bit to the vaccines. Always a hot topic for us.
Let's go right to the CDC,
right,
baby.
Let's go right to the nonsense here. So let me read from Reuters, July 19th, 2021. No trace of mRNA vaccine found in breast milk.
That sounds like good news.
Gene found that helped identify COVID-19 early. So seems like good news. Yeah, right. So let's fast forward to September 26th of 2022. Detection of messenger RNA COVID-19 vaccines in human breast milk. So just for a little personal anecdote, I posted a link to this study and said, hey, remember when they found, or they said there was no traces of mRNA in the human breast milk? Well, ladies and gentlemen, and just posted the article. I didn't make any kind of assertion whether or not they were harmful or not harmful or whatever. Bang, false information tag from Facebook on my post, claiming, or at least asserting, that I made some kind of reference to harm, because it says there is no, I wish I could pull it up right now, I don't, but you can go check my Facebook page and just look for it. It basically says, yeah, the the idea that the vaccine or the mRNA found in human breast milk is harmful is false information. And I'm like, I didn't even claim that it was false information. I just basically said it's found in breast milk. So bang, I got some sensor on it. I got some, notification, and everybody's, blurred image. Go ahead.
The actual fact check said breastfeeding not unsafe for babies first 2 days after vaccination, despite traces of mRNA found in breast milk.
Right. And I didn't even make any assertion about any time frame, any harm, anything. I just said, hey, they found it in the breast milk. Boom. They censored my post. So I'm going to bring this up. VAERS report, ID 1505306, Mr. Hussong.
Sure.
I don't know if I shared this with you. I probably did.
I don't think you did.
So this is a female in New York, age 30, vaccinated on 1/28/21. I'm going to read her write-up. This is submitted by this 30-year-old woman who I should note that administered by military, which means she's probably in service and was mandated for this vaccine. I was breastfeeding my son at the time. I pumped within an hour of receiving the shot. My 5-month-old son nursed the night following the shot and later ate the pumped milk that I acquired the same day of the shot. 11 days later, he was found unresponsive during his nap at daycare. It is not clear how long he was unresponsive for until found by babysitter. He was immediately rushed to the hospital, and doctors were able to get his heart beating again with excessive effort. Organ damage was extensive, and there had been no brain function. He did not recover. He passed away 13 days after I received the shot.
Jesus.
So this is just one VAERS claim, and I pulled it up and made it public. Only, again, if it's a New York female who is in the military, and I feel like all those variables are pertinent to what we've had conversations about here. We've talked about this mRNA being an experiment. I mean, we have guinea pigs all over the place, and whether or not, whatever you want to say about VAERS, it's the one place where we can look where people are actually making claims, and then we can assess those claims as they're made. But like, none of this looks good. And I'll bring this up now so we can, and I'll turn it over to you because you shared me this article today. Investigation into spikes in newborn baby deaths in Scotland. So apparently there was 2 spikes. At least 18 babies under 4 weeks old died in March, and that came after 21 babies died in September of last year. So that's March of 2022 and September of 2021. So they're investigating this. There's no data here yet, whether or not, but other than these are high anomalies for this frequent grouping of deaths in this age group. So I don't know where you want to take it from there. You can talk about this Scottish investigation or the human breast milk, but I don't know, more of a, I don't want to say I told you so, but what the hell?
I mean, listen, we've had a lot of commentary, a lot of discussion on this entire process over the last 2.5 years. I mean, just a lot. And a lot of it, we've laughed at the sheer absurdity of what these companies and what these regulatory agencies have done. Like the audacity to approve variant-specific boosters based on test results from 8 mice is so laughably crazy that you can't believe this is real life. The idea that they kept telling pregnant women that this was safe for them, even though there was no study of pregnant women done whatsoever, and their response was, well, there's no evidence to say it's bad. Okay, but there's no evidence to say it's good. And this is the stuff that we have laughed about, and like the sheer absurdity. But this is where it's not funny. Like, this is where I feel so terrible for this person. Like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And the idea that this has been allowed to happen, and we've tried to talk about the absurdity, and if nothing else, it was just, you're asking me to believe things and put faith in these people that have not earned it. You're asking me to just shut off every part of my brain that is skeptical because I keep getting lied to. And the lie started small. The lie started out with, COVID is the equal risk to everybody. It doesn't discriminate amongst old, young, sick, or healthy. Like, well, no, it does. And then they came out and they said, pregnant women are at such an enhanced risk of COVID because of X, Y, and Z. And then we broke that down on the show and went, yeah, your risk of hospitalization as a pregnant woman goes from 0.9 to 1.3%. So it's not inaccurate to say that's 40% more likely, but it is misleading. And they keep doing this. And this is the problem, is we've pointed that out, people kept telling us, well, that's just misinformation. You're just trying to scare people. Like, no, I'm trying to point out maybe we shouldn't have blind faith. I'm trying to give you reasons to be skeptical on your own. I'm not telling you that the shots are definitely causing adverse reaction in children. I'm not telling you definitively that the COVID shot is causing myocarditis in young men. I'm not telling you that there's reason to believe, or I'm not telling you that definitely the vaccine breaks the blood-brain barrier and is going to be found in brain, is causing organ failure, and the spike protein is staying present. I'm doing all this to point out we don't know. But the idea that these people are being upfront and honest and truthful is so laughably false, I don't know how anybody still buys it. Like, going through this process in my mind right now of where we went, they said the spike protein was going to stay at the injection site, and it's not. It's going to the ovaries of young women. It's going into the testes and the heart of young men. And it's not necessarily that that's bad. It was just unexpected. They didn't think that would happen, and it did. So what are the consequences? You weren't allowed to ask. Well, what could this mean? What is this going to lead to? And it was, as soon as you had the audacity to ask that question, you got labeled as an anti-vaxxer and a proprietor of medical misinformation, and you're too stupid to understand the science. But it was concerning. And then when they said, all right, well, it is causing myocarditis, but the myocarditis is mild, which is just an insane statement, as if we could possibly understand the long-term consequences of every one of these 16-year-old healthy boys that then got myocarditis. But okay, fine. And then it turned around and said, well, you're actually more likely to get myocarditis from COVID itself. And so then you actually break down the numbers. You're like, no, you're not. You're just lying, repeatedly lying. Masks will block the virus. No, they won't. Social distancing is the key. No, it's not. Like, we just keep getting lied to, and now the lies that we're being asked to believe are getting more and more ridiculous. So do I know for sure that the COVID vaccines with the mRNA technology are definitely causing an increase in the infant death rate in all of these vaccinated countries? No. But you don't know that it's not. And that should be reason enough to stop. Because now there's smoke and there's fire. I understand it's not necessarily, we can't establish causation, but they're not looking for causation. And you're never going to find what you're not looking for. It's that simple. And I love the quote still. Never count on a man understand something that his salary depends on him not understanding. So all these people in government, imagine if this turns out to be true. And guys, I don't want to break this down for you, but the odds are better than 50-50 that it is in fact true. These people have to go before the public as all the people who approve these recommendations, who approve these shots, who went and lied to you and misrepresented your risk to persuade you, to convince you to go get this COVID vaccine, even though there was no medical reason for you to do it whatsoever. There are some of them who are genuinely just stupid human beings despite being highly educated. Like Eric Ding is genuinely a stupid person. I don't think he has much malintent. I think he's just an idiot who found some publicity and now he can't let it go. It happens. I understand. But there's others who should know better, and now they're just so far committed to this position they can't back out. They don't know how to. At some point, guys, you got to stop. And I think for the most part, as we discussed last time, based on how many people are now taking these updated vaccines, we have all moved on. We have all just said, we're not listening to you anymore. Because if I had to get 4 polio vaccines and then get polio twice anyway, I would start asking questions about the efficacy of the polio vaccine too. But if you're asking me to get 4 shots so I can still get COVID and then get a treatment paid for by the same person or the same company who made the shot that didn't work, I'm allowed to ask questions at that point. I'm allowed to be skeptical. I'm allowed to say, wait, I'm sorry, I just need to see more evidence. And then when you look into the history of the mRNA and all the problems that it did cause in the testing and the reason they could never get to a human trial, and it all matches up with exactly what we're seeing right now. But how is it that we're the only ones talking about that? I'm not the only person that could find that article online from 2016 where they laid all this out. I promise you, I'm not that smart of a human being, but I found it. And I'm looking at all the problems they start talking about there and looking at what we're seeing now and going, it's a hell of a coincidence. I don't know what to do with this information, but that's a heck of a coincidence. And I hope smart people are looking at this. I hope the people in charge are looking at this. I hope we get some answers. And then you find out not only are they not looking at that, they're not even tracking adverse effects, period. Which they swore they would do when they gave the emergency use authorization. We'll track it through VAERS. We'll assess the data. We'll aggregate everything together and look for the scare points or whatever the hell that word is. And then they were like, we don't even have the capacity to do that.
Well, let me add this little tidbit here to what you were just saying. So this is another blurb from that individual VAERS report. It says diagnostic lab data. So this is somebody, I'm assuming, from this lab who entered this paragraph here. It says, autopsy was completed. Unofficial results said he was completely healthy. I have not seen official report of findings yet. I haven't even seen an official death certificate with the cause of death yet. This is almost 6 months later. So not only are they not looking for the adverse events, if they were, they wouldn't have found it in this one because the death certificate has not even been filed with the cause of death yet. So they wouldn't find, there's been, I don't know if this is just an anomaly here, but you could see how that could be problematic for data collection, even if you were trying to figure that out, if you're not getting the data available. So
it's wild.
It's crazy. So it's all crazy. I don't even know what to say anymore about the whole vaccine thing. But anyway, let's move on.
It's so profoundly sad.
Yeah,
it's right. Like, if this turns out to be right, I can't tell you how much I want to be wrong about this.
Right. Let's stick to the current craziness of the world. Back to Ukraine, Russia, and before we get directly into the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline, we have Ukraine applying for NATO membership, rules out Putin talks. So no peace seemingly coming out of that headline.
Why would you want peace when you could have war between nuclear powers?
Only if you want total annihilation of the human race, I guess. But again, we've talked a little bit about this idea that Ukraine being on Russia's neighbor, joining NATO cannot be taken as anything other than hostility towards Russia by Russia. You know, this move has to be taken as NATO is a military faction.
Alliance.
Right? Yeah. So they're basically saying, hey, we're on your next door neighbor now. So, and this obviously is on the heels. This happened September 30th or 29th, whatever the date is there. But as we know, on the 26th of September, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 were, by all accounts, all official reporting, purposely sabotaged by explosives, staggered and purposely placed in positions that would cripple these pipelines. Now, these pipelines weren't being used currently or actively because Russia basically saying that they needed maintenance to finish those. So they were basically holding them hostage already, which, again, we'll get into the whodunits. Seemingly makes no sense for Russia to do it if they already had access over the pipelines themselves and were declaring them inoperable already because they needed fixing. Like, they weren't being used. So for them to blow them up seems a little bit weird. We'll get into that in a second. But by all accounts, it was sabotage, right? So like there's nobody who thinks that it was natural occurrences or some the happenstances would have been
the amount of TNT it takes to blow up that pipeline. Think about, because it's under the ocean, how thick those pipes need to be already just to withstand the pressure of being underneath the ocean, and then they were encased in concrete on top of it. There is nothing that could have accidentally caused that explosion to destroy the pipelines the way that those did.
Right. So obviously that turned everybody to whodunit, right? Everybody became Magnum PI, wanted to figure out who.
I heard they had a video of Russians doing it.
That would be convenient.
I'm skeptical.
Do they have like Baltic Sea lifeguards with
listen,
cameras?
These are the same people that said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. So you never know. They could be right this time.
Well, let's play our president.
Oh, God, I already know this clip.
Yeah, this is a very short clip, but I feel like it's pertinent to the conversation here. So let's see what President Biden has to say. This is from February 7th, 2022.
Let me answer the first question first. If Russia invades, that means tanks or troops crossing the the border of Ukraine again, then there will be no longer a Nord Stream 2. We will bring an end to it.
How will you do that exactly, since the project and control of the project is within Germany's control?
We will, I promise you, we'll be able to do it.
Yikes. So he promises that they'll be able to do that. Obviously.
Remind me, did Russia invade Ukraine?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and if Russia invades Ukraine, then we're going to stop the Nord Stream 2.
And the Nord Stream pipelines have been stopped.
Interesting.
Coincidence, maybe.
Okay.
You know what else is a coincidence? That U.S. Navy assault ships took place in the Baltic Sea training shortly before that.
Weird.
Also coincident, Mr. Hussong, I would like to bring your attention to Poland and Norway opened milestone trans-Baltic gas pipeline on the same day of the detonation sabotage of the Nord Stream pipeline. So I watched the video today like 5 times. That was I wish I should have pulled it up. Not that I was going to play it, but I felt it tried to cover a lot of the possibilities of who could have done it. So this video had assumed obviously Russia could have been them doing it. Now, in this video, I agreed with most of his reasons why Russia would not do it. All the economic incentives were there's no literal economic incentive or geopolitical incentive for Russia to do it unless they did it as a false flag operation, right? So like basically you have to make the leap that they're doing it knowing that they're going to get hurt, but it's going to draw them into something beneficial in the future that they want to get to, whatever that is. I don't know. But
I'm not ruling it out.
I'm not ruling it out either.
Like,
but that's the
we're
only.
not the only government that does false flag
Sure,
operations.
sure.
All right.
Right. And again, but the people are like, oh, you know, gas prices went up because of it, right? Okay, well, the lines weren't being used, so like they weren't benefiting from the gas prices going up. There was no direct. We're like, oh, this makes total sense for Russia to do it. So for Russia to do it, it would have to have been 3D chess, whatever. You know, basically false flag, drawing somebody into something else that they thought that they could draw them into. Again, not dismissing it, but
here's the disincentives for Russia. They already control it. So they control this product that the entire world needs, and the entirety of Europe is very reliant on them. So in the negotiations for the peaceful exit from the Ukraine, there's a bargaining chip at play to say, hey, listen, when you're ready to stop this nonsense, we got these territories. They are Russian now. I will turn the gas back on. I will give these territories back to the Ukraine. And as long as all I'm asking for, I'll turn the gas on. I'll keep these ones safe. I'll return these other lands. And all I'm asking for is there's zero chance that Ukraine joins NATO, and we got to get that done. It's a pretty strong negotiating table. And again, they already controlled the on-off switch. They're the only ones who can control the on-off switch.
So there was some assertion that Russians who are outside of Putin's inner circle could have been responsible to take that bargaining chip away, which again, it's not Putin at that point. It's basically NATO/USA.
It's a terrorist organization at that point.
Right. So
sorry, but if you just cut off the main energy supply for the entire continent of Europe, you're a terrorist. Yeah. Like, I don't have a better word for you.
Right. So I find that difficult to believe that they would do that independently.
I believe in incentives. That's like the study of incentives. I think it will get you to the proper endpoint way more often than anything else. So Russia did have an incentive to do it. They could be doing a false flag operation in order to, I don't know, garner sympathy or something.
I think we're in agreement that this
it feels like not the most likely scenario.
But you think this event prolongs the possibility or prolongs the chances that there's a prolonged war, right? Like,
yeah,
because this was a way out.
This was a bargaining chip.
Right. It was
in
a
the
way,
middle of winter,
right.
when everybody's freezing and trying to cut down every last tree for warmth, you're suddenly going to start looking at, you know what? Maybe we don't need to keep fighting a proxy war in the Ukraine. Maybe we don't need to try to get Russia involved in insurgency. Maybe we need gas for our citizens. Like, maybe that would be better.
Right. And so that, again, it makes it seem anybody who is pro-war or benefits from the war is a possibility, because I feel like that bargaining chip, that piece, that offering is no longer on the table, and therefore less likely path to peace, right? So anybody who has interest in the war being prolonged is a potential suspect, and we talk about U.S. have been literally was trying to draw Russia into a war.
We're not good at fighting insurgency wars, but we're good at backing them.
So I don't want to make any hot takes.
quote.
I've heard, I don't have here, but if you want to go listen to Kim Iverson, she made a hypothetical Poland did it case, so you can go listen to why they might be interested in taking out this pipeline. And this had to do, obviously, with this new pipeline going up, but they also have, obviously, some anti-Russia sentiments there. So
NATO member Poland.
Right. So the video that I watched basically said it was a military operation wouldn't be needed for this, that they could actually implement these explosives just through some, private yacht if they wanted to. I'm guessing we're going to find out. Do you think we're going to find out?
In 20 years, we'll find out.
Well, if it's USA, we'll never find out, right?
That's what, in 20 years, it'll be the weapons of mass destruction thing all over again. We'll find out when it's too late to do anything about it, and they'll be like, but we had really strong reason to think that it was somebody else. Rogue operator. I don't know that it was America, but if I'm looking at who has the best of incentives to do this, it's America. Because America is unaffected by the Nord Stream pipelines entirely, and if anything, it opens up for more business for us now that they're shut down. Poland is also one, but here's the thing. We don't need to be subject to the tyranny of war. We can embrace the power of and. It could have been America and Poland.
Sure.
All right. So, again, given what we've done in the past.
Most likely, if it was Poland, they didn't do it without the U.S.
There is 0% chance they did that without clearing it with America first. All right? And listen, I get it. We're the good guys. I understand. We're the good guys on the world stage. But maybe not every country thinks so. Maybe there's some countries like Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, Libya, maybe a few others that don't view us as this benevolent force for good in the world. Maybe it has something to do with drone strikes and extrajudicial killings and bombings of these people and covering it up and basically telling them to get lost when they say anything about it. Could have something to do with it. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure if you ask the average Russian who's the good guy and who's the bad guy in this little confrontation between us nuclear powers, they're probably not going to be like, oh, you guys are definitely the benevolent force for good, and we're just trying to spread evil throughout the world. Like, obviously. Almost like every country thinks they're the good guy. So, before we go into this whole, we're a force for good, and Russia is just a empire hell-bent on, colonization and imperialist tendencies. Nope. Historically, not Russia's MO. I get the Soviet Union. There's an exception to everything. But, hey, I'm not saying Russia's good. Maybe we're not great either. Maybe that
nobody's good.
Maybe we just put too much faith in the sociopaths that want to rule the world, that they're going to do it benevolently and for our own good. Maybe we've just placed too much faith in their altruistic tendencies. Maybe these people, think about the level of sociopath you need to be just to want to, be in charge of this. But the narcissism that is required for that is Donald Trump level narcissist. Okay, that's what you have to be if you want to be in charge. And we all know Joe Biden's not in charge. Not really. He's the figurehead. And even he keeps letting stuff slip. Well, Nord Stream 2 is going away if they invade. Shut up, Joe. My God. We got plans back here, man. You're killing us. So, I don't know who's in charge, but I'm not even saying America did it. Please do not mistake what I'm telling you. What I'm saying is, maybe we shouldn't rule it out. Maybe we shouldn't just trust that the U.S. government investigated and determined that the U.S. government did not do this. Maybe we need to ask more questions.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming that this investigation is going to be, is there's going to be a public investigation that everybody, all the leaked information is going to come out, and then there's going to be this whole other thing in the background. Like I said, Russia basically said they want an investigation, so it's not like they're
Well, that's what you would say if you were the guilty party anyway.
Sure, but you would like to, until somebody decides that they're going to throw countermeasures at the investigation, then maybe there's, I'm keeping my options open.
I'm going to laugh when some country announces in Europe that they're going to investigate it, and then we cut off all their natural gas for some other unbeknownst reason. I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah.
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, let's just hope this is not the precursor to World War III, because there's a lot of people out there thinking that it is. So I don't know. I don't have much else to say there. Do you have anything else on here or anything else before we depart for the week and let everybody enjoy their
clown world.
Yeah, just stop believing these people. They're liars. They might be right every once in a while, but that doesn't mean they're truthful human beings or good people. They're not. They have a desire to rule over others. That's automatically a disqualifier to you being a good human being.
Yeah, I got to go with that. So, all right. Well, on that note, I'll remind everybody again, hopefully that you can support the show by sharing, liking this video, spreading the word. I don't know. We like interaction and engagement. So if you leave any comments for the show, let us know if there's anything you think we got wrong today, other than Ben's assertion that USA blew up the Nord Stream pipeline.
I did not say that. I don't need the FBI.
I'm kidding.
banging
I'm
out
kidding.
my door, right? Good Lord.
All right.
Just, maybe.
Let's all leave that for the possibilities, and maybe we'll cover it again next week. So on that note, yeah, go ahead.
I have to adjust one statement that I make frequently where I say the vaccine is the leading cause of coincidence in the world. That is no longer the case. I now understand the United States government is the leading cause of coincidence in the world.
Fair. I echo those sentiments. So, all right. Let's leave everybody again for another week, and we'll see you all again next Monday, 12 p.m. for another live show. If we're legally allowed, I'll be streaming on all 3 platforms again next week on Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. So hopefully that all works out. Hopefully your rants today keep us alive and kicking and not dead. I don't know.
I clarified every statement. Everyone.
Nobody cares.
I know.
All right, folks. We'll see you all next week.